Hey guys, welcome to Surf and Show. I'm Noel Salas. Today's surfboard review, the Ripper by Lost Surfboards. Now I've got 4 boards, a couple Black Dart technology, a couple light speeds. They're all stock 5'6", coming in at 26 liters. I'm 5'9", 165 pounds. This will be fun. Sit back, get your favorite drink, enjoy the show. Now as we dive into the board attributes on the Ripper, we've got to rewind for a second. It started with the Rad Ripper. And that board had this 80s vibe to it. I remember mine being a stock 5'5", coming in at 26 liters. So same volume, just an inch shorter than the Ripper. But some of the things that I remember about the Rad Ripper is it had a flat deck. It had a lower apex rail. It was kind of pinched or tapered. It had a beak nose and a fluted wing. That board was quick and super fun in smaller waves, but it wasn't very forgiving for me. I remember liking it best as a quad, but when I was surfing, sometimes my front foot would get just in front of the sweet spot and the board would bog across here, and it just felt like I was really smothering the front end of that board. So I had to adjust my front foot back a little bit, and the quad gave it that little extra speed and the flow that I liked. So when I remember that Rad Ripper, I remember thinking to myself, man, if it was just a little bit refined. So here we are to the Ripper, and Matt's made some great changes. So let's start with the deck. I would say it's a tad domed. It's got a medium rail, and it's pretty soft and forgiving. It's got no beak and maybe a tad more entry rocker, according to what the Lost website says. And then it's got this bumper hip right here to replace that fluted wing. So still a good amount of surface area, giving us the lift and keeping the board fast. But one of the things that I like personally about a bumper hip, it still makes it quick and easy to pivot off of, but I really feel like a lot of times when I jump on boards with this kind of tail shape, you can really drive them hard surfing off the back foot. And that's who I am personally as a surfer. Now, from what I understand, the bottom contours are pretty much the same. It's running a single to a double between the fins to a bit of V just behind the third fin box. All of these changes, kind of updating the board, really feel like they made the difference. Adding 1 inch in rail line made the board very forgiving. I don't have to be as exact on where my front foot is. So if I was a little bit narrow, or if I step past the sweet spot, I mean, that's like 2 inches. It's probably more like here to here. I felt like the board was responding well. I never really felt like it was bogging anywhere up here, because the board does have overall pretty low rocker. It's keeping that speed, and it's giving us those tight arcing turns that I like in a tight transition, which is what I would expect from a small wave performance board. Now I want to talk about both board constructions, the fins I tested, what I like best and why. And when the boards came in, I just gravitate to the full carbon layups. So the Black Dart technology with my pivot twin plus stabilizer, this is pre-preg carbon, so 50% lighter than like any kind of fiberglass fin. It was about keeping the equipment light, responsive, and at Waco Surf, I'm looking to get 3 to 4 turns with good timing and good flow. That's how I really connect with the board. So starting with this fin template, since it's so upright, enables me to do that. And it felt good. However, I wasn't feeling the drive on rail. So not a lot of resistance coming back with this particular fin setup. And luckily I had the light speed already set up for thruster. So after a couple sessions with that setup on the Black Dart technology, I jumped on the light speed with my pivot thruster set. Now it's pretty upright, so I want to get into that lip quick. And I noticed on the very first wave, right when I got to my feet, the board was quite a bit tighter. And I would say tighter in a good way. It took a little bit to adjust to it. But now when I put the board on rail and I'm pushing off the bottom and I'm doing a carve, I'm feeling resistance not only from the fin, but from the rail. And the more resistance I feel, the harder I'm going to push. And that's going to give me the drive that I'm looking for from the board. So after a couple hours riding the light speed, feeling great, I went back to Black Dart technology, but I switched to a neutral thruster template. And for me, it felt a little bit tighter compared to the pivot fin, a bit more explosive compared to the light speed. And after riding it for 2 hours, that tightness and feel kind of goes away. And then it's just about the drive and getting the board fine-tuned to exactly what I'm looking for. Now, I will mention this. If you're a surfer that doesn't push super hard through your turns, it's going to be easier to get that lively feel underfoot, that pop, projection, and drive on a board like the Lightspeed. This kind of construction takes less to flex. So I highly recommend that if you're looking to get on a Ripper and ride it in small waves and you're trying to decipher what construction to go with, think about who you are as a surfer. Do you have heavy pressure dents? Do you feel like you push hard through your turns? If you do, then you might want to go with the Black Dart technology. If you don't, then you want to go here. Now, the last fin setup I ran was my quad setup, because I remember liking the original Rad Ripper best as a quad. So excited to throw the quad setup. This is a neutral side with a pretty upright quad rear. This was giving me a little bit more speed, a tad more flow, but I noticed quite a bit less pivot. Now, I could have changed that by putting in the pivot side fin to get it more vertical, but I had already spent like 6-7 hours riding all these boards in different fin setups. So it was really about, will you guys like it as a quad? And I believe you will. That extra speed and that little bit of release on turns is something I'm personally addicted to. And I feel like if I was riding both these boards at some of the point breaks at home with a little bit more open face, I'd probably like the quad a little bit better. But after all my fin testing, I liked the Black Dart technology with my neutral thruster setup best at Waco Surf.
Hey guys, what's going on? Super excited to be doing this review with Noel on the Lost Ripper by Matt Biolis. Just kind of getting started, I want to let you know a little bit about my dimensions. I am 6 feet, 190 pounds. Typically ride boards around the 30 to 32 volume range. This board in particular is actually going to be 5'10", 19.75 or 19 3/4, and is going, or about 2.45 inches thick, at about 30.75 or liters in that sense. So really, when I think about this board, it is absolutely, it's going to be one of my favorite boards I've tried from Lost. I've ridden the driver, I've ridden some of their fish boards, I've ridden their sub driver, basically a lot of their performance boards over the years. And this one right here, as far as a California shortboard goes, is absolutely one of my favorites. And you know, when we think about a high performance California shortboard, you need to have just a little bit more, we'll say, width sometimes, but you want a little bit flatter rocker kind of in the middle of that board so you can gain speed. But then this tail kick right here on this board, as you can see, really is kind of kicks up a lot. And what this was really allowed me to do is have a ton of speed with a slightly flatter rocker through the midsection. Then when I stepped on the tail, just was really able to get some pivot and then really drive into turns and then really carve really sharp. Love the feeling of this. I rode this board as a 2+1 primarily with the Naked Viking IPA Ahi twins, or twin plus trailer setup. I've been typically leaning towards this fin setup a lot more lately, with a little bit softer conditions. I surf lower trestles a lot. That open face, I really feel like these sort of fins really do give me a little bit more speed because they have a lot more, we'll say, surface area on the side, so get a ton more drive and then have a little bit more release when I want it. I also rode it as a thruster setup with the Vector 2 future fin setup, and was really held really well. You know, for this board, when I'm thinking of it as kind of like a step down, or what I typically call a regular step down, is now a California shortboard for me, but you know, basically like a medium to smaller wave board. When we think of the, you know, riding this as a thruster, held really well, felt really fast, and really was able to hold the rail a lot better than this setup. Obviously, when we think of the trailer being small, that really allows me to get a little bit more release. As you can see in some of my surfing, I really like to push to where I get some tail slide. I feel like that's something that I really like as far as a feeling in a board. So if you aren't as much on that sliding factor, definitely a thruster setup is going to be an amazing setup for this board. Really fast and really will allow you to drive really well through a lot of your turns and link them together.
Stoked to have my boy Stefan on the show.
Nice. Good
Long
to see
time
you.
coming,
Yeah.
You're always ripping this wave. I wanted to get you on the Ripper here. This is my stock 5.6. We've been passing the board around a bunch. Why don't you tell us how it felt?
Well, it definitely felt like a bunch of regular footers have been riding it. I'm a goofy footer. This is definitely a modern shape of the Rad Ripper, a lot more performance, a little less forgiving than the Rad Ripper, but just really spicy in the pocket, definitely back foot orientated. I like this one a lot better. I wasn't too big of a fan of that one just for my style of surfing. I do tend to ride boards on my front foot sometimes, and this one definitely told me no a couple times, so I had to go back to my back foot. And I mean, it's been an amazing feel on this board. I think that the quad here at Waco is the way to go, for me at least, on this 5.6, 18 3/4, 26 liter board. Lightspeed construction feels really good under my feet, very springy. I had a little bitty sticky moment here and there with the thruster setup, which I think I would love in Oceanside or somewhere like that. But if I was at home in the Gulf, definitely would go with the quad, and especially here, nice tight pockets. It felt amazing, you know.
So you mentioned earlier you're 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Is this a medium and medium?
It is a medium and a medium. I feel like this is the first time I ever tried the endorphin fins, which I feel are truly amazing. I think I'm gonna try them again. I just, really just coming off of this session felt the best. I got a really good keeper there in the beginning and my backside, and a lot of release. It took me a minute in the beginning with the quad. It feels very quick, a lot of drive, but it wanted to slide a little bit, so I had to adjust my back foot, and that felt good.
All right, Asa, we got 3.5 hours on Lightspeed, Kelly's quad.
Yep.
How'd it feel?
It felt like I had a couple good turns. It felt like when it engaged and my timing was good. It was really good. I've been off the board for a couple of weeks, so just part of it is me just kind of getting back into the groove again and getting my timing good. But the more time I spent on it, I felt like the more I could push harder and I could get the board in the critical spot, and it was moving through the wave better.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's review on the Ripper by Lost surfboards. I'm calling it a small wave performance board, ideal for that intermediate all the way to pro level surfers in 1 to 5 foot surf. Now, the last thing I want to mention, and this actually shocked me, I took both black darts out at Waco Surf with the same exact fin setup, and they rode exactly the same. I really couldn't tell them apart. I can't say that I've ever experienced that before in all my surfing life. I've had multiple shapers shape me 2 boards in the same exact construction, and I feel similarities after surfing both, but never exactly the same. My point is this: you guys are gonna feel what I'm feeling, and hats off to the folks at Lost in excellent board building. Look, if you like the show, subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and give us a thumbs up if you like our content. Until next time, we'll see you in the water. Bye-bye.